8:47.
Money, we got that Fly Nubian money. We talk about that money, we all about that money. Money. We got that Fly Nubian money. We talk about that money, we all about that money. We love our black skin, our melanin, always focusing in on that money. We always win, money never thin, 'cause we hustling, always focusing in money. We got that money. We have Fly Nubian money. Boss talk, only we stack it up. We talk about that money, we all that money. Fly Nubian money.
Welcome to Fly Nubian Money, where we help you master your mindset and maximize your money. I am Dr. Charm, real estate agent, comedian, actress, and singer, and doctor. And I'm here today to talk about this topic with our beautiful panel of queens. Okay, we have Miss Black Hollywood, our producer, actress, and singer, and she's so multi-talented. And then we also have the wonderful, the amazing real estate professional, healthcare professional, registered nurse, Ms. Dominique Morgan. Okay, so let's get into it, ladies. There is a growing number of people online giving advice about relationships, mental health, and personal growth. And many of them have built large audiences by speaking with confidence and consistency. Some are licensed professionals and some are not. But for a lot of viewers, that difference is not always clear. So Dr. Cheyenne Bryant has built a strong platform sharing insights on relationships and mental health. And now there are questions being raised about credentials, licensing, and what qualifies someone to guide people through serious and personal issues. This raises a bigger question about how we define expertise and who we choose to trust, especially when the advice people follow can have real consequences in their lives. And before we get started, I do want to shout out the chat. I see Deborah will win 11. We got our chat coming, so that's our co-host here. So welcome, chat. So, ladies, let's get this started. First of all, Dominique, since you have a license, you and I both share that we have a license in healthcare. What did you think about everything that was going on?
So I think I was more confused at what people were so angry about, or why they're so frustrated with her. There are a lot of people that may not be licensed that are life coaches that give advice based on experience, wisdom. And for me, some of the best advice I have gotten was from people that may not have been licensed, right? We're talking about our elders that have wisdom and experience, life experience. And so it was mind-boggling to me that people were just so mad and angry, that this lady is not quote unquote licensed. So that was my thoughts. And I found that it was us as African American women. It was more of us kind of attacking her, based on this information. So I was just a little
Well, Miss Black Hollywood, as a person who is public facing, who's been in the public eye for years, and Dr. Cheyenne Bryant has built, she's built her social media presence. She has books. She's interviewed celebrities. Like, what is your perspective on this as a public figure, evaluating her being a public figure in this whole arena?
Sure. I just understand the power of story and branding, obviously. But I think that credentials definitely have to come and be a part of that, especially I think that we have a responsibility to be who we say we are. And I know that Dr. Cheyenne does have a doctorate, but I guess the question is, her doctorate is there was some questions about her doctorate actually being a doctorate versus like an honorary doctorate or from a non-credited school. I know that was a thing back in the day. And then also just the way you present yourself, if it's authentic, right? Like, I'm not licensed, but I don't think she uses the word life coach. I don't think she uses, it's just the wording. So for me, I've been like, is she an actual doctor? I know that a lot of professionals are very critical of the way she's been able to use her brand and build it. And I think just overall, I think that you have to be who you say you are. If you have a responsibility to say the right things on platforms where people are actually listening. So I guess I questioned what's the validity of her credentials? Are they from like Christian university, and were they given to you because you paid for them and then you took that and then built a platform because you're beautiful? Or so I ask questions, Dr. Charm.
Well, okay, from my understanding, she graduated from Argosy University, and Argosy University was one of those for-profit universities. She was in a program to get her PhD, but she never completed it. She didn't defend her dissertation, and then even one of her professors accused her of allegedly plagiarizing part of her dissertation, so she never finished. She never earned her doctorate. She didn't also complete the clinical hours to even, because you can be a licensed healthcare professional with so many hours of counseling and clinical hours, even with a master's degree. You don't have to have a doctorate to be a licensed counselor or a licensed social worker, but it requires like 3,000 hours, and she didn't complete those either. And so then the school closed down. So then it wasn't, even if she had gotten a doctorate, if the school were accredited at the time she got her doctorate and then she went on and got a license, that would be fine, because, unfortunately schools do close. But if the school is unlicensed at the time that you get your doctorate, then that's a different story. It would be very, very difficult to get credentials, though it's not impossible. But that situation being, it's really a moot point, because she didn't get the doctorate and then the schools still lost their accreditation.
Right.
So
she was like, cool, I know enough. Let me go and build a platform based off what I know and then experience. I guess so. That's my question for you, Dr. Charm, and for you, Dominique. Like, is that enough? I mean, I didn't mean to, like, I'm just throwing it back. Like, is that enough? Is that responsible enough? Is it enough hours? Is she getting her 10,000 hours from, the world, like in practice?
Well, the thing is, the credentials is to protect the public. So it's to make sure that there's a standard, that there's if there's a complaint, that there's a body, there's a board to investigate complaints, and they can strip you of your license. You don't have to have a license to give certain advice, but then you could be accused of practicing without a license. So as a life coach, anybody can get a life coach certification. You can get it online.
I have one.
Right. So she says she doesn't build herself as a psychologist. She builds herself as a psychology expert and a life coach. But I think the problem is that people can get confused when you put the doctor title, because it's my understanding that she has an honorary doctorate. And if you have an honorary doctorate, it's still a doctor, because the honorary doctors look at your life experience and your body of work. Like Quincy Jones, I don't think that Quincy Jones, completed college. I know he didn't get a doctorate, but we can all agree that Quincy Jones has a body of work that would make him an expert in the field of music, that would qualify him to earn a doctorate for sure. Michael Jackson would have been, had he still been living with all the attention with the Michael move, he definitely would qualify to have a doctorate. As a matter of fact, he's the only non-professional dancer that was inducted into the Professional Dancers Hall of Fame. Of course, Michael Jackson was a dancer's expert, so your body of work could qualify you to earn an honorary doctorate. But that's kind of the thing. Dominique, what's your thoughts?
So my question is, because I think there may be a play on words. Has she ever come out and said that I'm a licensed therapist?
No, she said she's not. She said that she didn't want to be. She recently went on, I believe it was Joe Budden, and that's where she addressed the whole controversy, where she said she didn't want to be under a license because there's a lot of restrictions on it. There's certain things she can and cannot say. And even Dr. Umar came to her defense, because they tried to come for him. Now he says that, he chooses not to have a license because he has other theories that are outside of the realm of psychologist. Like, he doesn't believe in ADHD. He calls it ain't no daddy at home disorder, and he says that it's because of family dysfunction. So he says he doesn't want to be restricted to those things that the board would restrict him to, especially since he's really pro-Afrocentric. So he practices under being a certified school psychologist. So but they tried to, I think Roland Martin tried to come for him and say he didn't have a doctorate, but he does have one. You can look it up.
Okay. And I guess that's my issue. Like, she never came out and said, I'm a licensed therapist, right? It's just like all these people that have platforms and they're telling people how to do their relationships, and they're telling people how to do certain things. She's been operating in the same space. And I think it's just a play on words, because she is quote unquote counseling people, but she's never come out and said, I am a licensed counselor.
Now, here's the thing. I just
looked it up. Leading people to believe. It's taking people to the water. Now, we do have our first video, but go ahead and finish your thought, Dr. Charm.
Yeah. So but as far as the doctoral degree, we know she doesn't have a doctoral degree from Argosy, where she completed her training. But she got an honorary doctorate from Harvest Christian University Royal School in 2025 of last year in Dallas.
She paid for it.
But they also said that she had been using the title doctor for several years before. So now she has the honorary doctorate, but she didn't have it before. But yes, let's go ahead and roll video.
Let's go ahead and roll the video. The interesting thing about having an honorary doctorate, we talked about it on the show before. It's like it was, again, a play on words, but I'm bringing it up. It's an interesting play on words and a little bit manipulative, but here we go.
Bill insurance. And let me go a step further. Majority of people who know that in order to bill insurance as a therapist or a physician or a psychologist, psychiatrist, you have to diagnose.
Okay.
Most people don't want to have a diagnosis on their record. So what do they rather do? Pay out of pocket.
That's what I do.
And so when I realized that, I thought, well, okay, it may create a gap within our community, our Black community, who can't afford health care or afford mental health services. But it also is a way that, as a therapist, two things: you can obviously make what you deserve, because therapy is real. We're giving everything we have in there, and we're unpacking shit, and we're helping you process through things. So it's not us sitting there, well, if you're an effective therapist, saying, tell me more. You should be unpacking, and you should be able to take somebody and drive with them to their goal and give them tools. So anyways, when I realized that, I thought, well, one, I'll just be out of pocket. Two, when I tell my clients the truth, is that in order to bill insurance, I have to diagnose you. And you only get about 6 weeks. In order for me to get 6 more weeks approval, guess what? I have to say that you are slightly improving, but really,
not there.
Come on now. So if anything happens in the court of law, if anything happens with employment, that is on your record forever.
Well, that's inaccurate what she said about, you can only get 6 weeks at a time. But that's what prior authorizations are for. So if anybody knows about healthcare, when you get, authorization to see a specialist, it's approved for a certain amount of time. Usually it's 90 days, and then it's recertified. But to see a psychologist, that was the whole thing about the Affordable Care Act, the Obamacare. They removed the restrictions for therapy. Like, you used to have to, therapy didn't pay. A lot of times, even if you had insurance, you had to pay out of pocket. And there were a lot of restrictions. And when that Affordable Health Care Act came down, they said you cannot discriminate between practitioners. So you don't even have those restrictions that you had back in 2010. So you can go and find your own therapist. You don't even have to be referred anymore. And so that's inaccurate what she's saying about the 6 weeks. But I understand what she's saying about the restrictions of licensing. And then it's a real thing that people don't want to have a diagnosis following them about mental health. I definitely get where there is a space for a lay, for a life coach or a person who is unlicensed. Dominique, you have your, again, you're RN. What are your thoughts on what she's saying about what she said in the Joe Budden video?
So in terms of counseling, right? So a psychiatrist is somebody that prescribes medication. If you're going to see a psychologist, 9 times out of 10, you're not getting medication, and it's not going to really follow you unless something comes up. Now, if you're seeing a psychiatrist, yes, that's going to follow you because you're taking medication. And so the medication aligns with whatever diagnosis that you have. in terms of payment, there are a lot of different options that companies offer, like EAP, right? Where you can call and they give you so many free sessions for the year. I know my job, they give you 10 free sessions for the year. And so I think that, you know, she wants the freedom to kind of just do her own thing without the restrictions. But there are resources out there, and everybody, you're not going to necessarily be tied to a diagnosis, right? Because if you're going to see a psychologist is not prescribing you medication. Nobody is getting these records unless there's something like in terms of the court of law. So it's like, what diagnosis are you going to really be tied to? Nobody even has to know that you're going to see a psychologist. Again, if you're seeing a psychologist, that's a different story, because you're taking a medication that aligns to whatever diagnosis that.
And there's a lot of like, you know, you have to get a court order, you have to sign releases. There's a lot of restrictions when it comes to releasing mental health records and clinical notes. When, you know, Miss Black Hollywood, let me ask you a question. Do you think, what do you think the line is between coaching and therapy?
Yeah, I just think you have to be, because she talked a little bit about being a therapist in the video. Like, she compared it, the language got a little fuzzy, right? Where she's coming off, she's a life coach, but talking about unpacking things with you, talking the language of a therapist, but you're not a licensed therapist. So even in the way she presented herself in one way, but that's not what it is. And even being a doctor, whether you believe it or not, in terms of being having an honorary doctorate, like in most cases, if you have an honorary doctorate, I heard when we had the show that you're not allowed to say use the title. It's just an acknowledgement to you that you have done this thing. But in that particular program, I know that they're just like, you pay a fee and you get a doctorate, right? Because there's a lot of like artists and like Young Jock and Trina and all of these people and Trick Daddy who got a doctorate. And I'm not saying it's from the same place, but it's the same vibe, right? So you can say like, oh, I'm a doctor. So anyway, you asked me what I thought. I felt like the language was a little misleading because she's not licensed. And also, like, just the way she presented it, I feel like those things that she's talking about also are like safety measures for the person, for the patient, right? And you're saying like, I don't want that. Like, I don't want any restrictions. I want to be able to do my thing. And depending on the way you look at it, it could be a good or a bad thing, you know, because those boundaries are for patients protection. And if you're just out here just doing whatever you want, that means that you can really harm somebody's mental health.
And I want to piggyback off of that. She mentioned in the video where she talked about resources. You have to have the knowledge and the education to know what resources to provide an individual based on what's going on with them. You know, yes, life coach, you can do research and different things like that, but there's different techniques and resources that are provided to you based on your knowledge and your education that you're getting from having this doctorate degree or whatever degree you are licensed. And I think that that's the piece that is missing, you know, because you're not getting those techniques. You're not able to necessarily identify if somebody is in a real crisis and they need additional help outside of what is happening in this moment or having this conversation, because you're not trained to identify these things. So we have to think about that as well.
You haven't even reached your Quincy Jones status. Like you said, boo, no, you ain't even reached that. Like, I just don't feel like I don't think the honorary degree is, I just don't think it's valid. Like, I don't think that she's earned that, but she's pretty and she's online and she's built a platform. So I don't know. Go ahead, Dr. Charm.
Well, that, I mean, from my understanding, for an honorary doctor, you can use it on your title, but in the academic arena, it's kind of discouraged. But because you're granted that, you can utilize it. It's not illegal. Nobody's gonna, take you to jail and all that. But you did bring up a very a huge point about the pretty. And so let's explore that. Do we have any videos surrounding that? Anybody talking about that?
We don't have, not about the pretty privilege of it, but go ahead.
Okay. So because it is my observation with all the firestorm over the weekend that 100% of the people that I saw calling her into question were licensed therapists or licensed professionals that were Black women. I didn't see not one man, not one black man, not one man call her into question, whether it be a post, a video, or anything. And it made me wonder, as a person who has been a recipient of pretty privilege and a person who has had friction because of pretty privilege. My question was, are they coming for this woman because she's attractive? Because it's all these other black women that were coming for her. What do y'all think? I'm gonna start with you, Miss Black Hollywood, and I want to hear your thoughts too, Dominique.
No, I went down a rabbit hole. I have pictures. I have videos of men speaking out against, who are licensed professionals speaking out against her. So I don't think it's a pretty privileged thing. But as we know, like, you can use your beauty. People love beautiful things, right? So you can use, in any industry, you can use beauty as a strategy to move forward. And I think she knows that. And so she's a beautiful woman, and she is using that to her advantage. And I think that's how she gets clients, along with her kind of the way she uses her messaging. She's pro men in a lot of things. Like, she just, she got the game. She figured it out. And I think that has worked against, you're talking about women coming for her using her license to be like pro men and find a sweet spot to kind of use it. It's all branding. It's all, she's found her voice. If that, and people are, and men in particular, like what she's saying because of the way the position that she's taken.
That she's in. Okay. Dominique, you're obviously a very beautiful woman. Do you think, what do you think as far as pretty privilege coming into this? Have you benefited from pretty privilege? And do you think that pretty privilege comes into this conversation when it comes to Dr. Dominique? Excuse me, Dr. Cheyenne.
I will say that I probably have benefited from pretty privilege, but I also really work hard. And so I don't lead with that. I'm so much more than that, right? I am, yes, thank God. That's something I have no control of. I'm nice looking, right? But I'm also educated and I'm smart and I have a good heart. And so I think that, yes, you can benefit from that. And I think that because she has this platform, it's just like people that wear expensive clothing and have expensive cars. People, they're the part, whether they're the part or not, because they look like the part, right? And because she is beautiful, she looks like the part. And, as we dive into this, because she, I see her stuff, but we're not, as African-American women, we're not her ideal clientele, right? We're not really her audience. It's the black male, right? That is her audience. And I think that, people are not necessarily, now that I'm thinking about it, they're not necessarily upset at her messaging. They're upset that people work hard and go to school to get licensed. I would be offended as a registered nurse, now that I'm thinking about it, as we dive deeper, right? I would be offended if somebody says that they're a registered nurse when they did not go to school. And I know how much work I put into it, right? I know how to look. So for you to go around and say I'm a registered nurse and you a CNA, I think that would bother me as well.
It would bother you some.
Into this conversation, I think people are more upset because they put in the work, they put in the time, they went to school, and for you to just to claim that you're a therapist when you're not, I can see how they can be upset.
Absolutely. Miss Black Hollywood, let's put some of those comments back up, please. Let's see what the chat is saying.
Okay. All right, cool. Where you want to start? We'll start here.
Okay. Renee Hodgins, ethical responsibilities do no harm. I did remember seeing that earlier. Let's see, in June 2000, people can have the title of doctor based on education. Being licensed is a matter of taking the test. People with a doctoral degree can practice under a doctor who is licensed.
Okay.
And then Jasmine 01K says, celebrity helps her marketing as well, from Ray J to 50 Cent. I can respect the mission, but authenticity matters most. Very valid point. Latoya Young 919 says, honorary means no practicing allowed, right? All right. Jasmine 01K agrees.
Okay. They said you got great.
Okay. And then Deborah will win 11. I know someone who received an honorary doctorate, but it was after she received her master's and had done 20 years of work from the college she attended. In this case, it is valid. Okay. I get that. That's kind of like a Quincy Jones situation. I think, she does her target audience is Black men. And I first recognized her on the scene was when she broke Cam Newton down. I thought that was a very good interaction, because she called into task all this stuff why he wouldn't marry the baby mamas and had all these kids and had this woman living with him with no title and things. And I thought the advice that she gave him was really, really good. I think some of the licensed professionals have called into task, like, against some of her ethics and some of her practices. Like, she did say on one interview that Offset had reached out to her behind the scenes, and someone said that, that's a potential HIPAA violation because he's reaching out to her as a client, and the confidentiality. So I think, Dominique, do you think, based on this backlash that she's gotten from the other mental health professionals, do you think that there's going to be some type of complaint against her that comes up in the legal arena? I mean, she doesn't have a license, so it can't go before a licensing board. But do you think that might turn into something?
No, I actually think that this is going to propel her business.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's going to harm her at all. I think it's going to make her go to another level, because think about all the attention and exposure she's getting. Now she's tapped into a whole nother level of people that she could potentially have as clients. And in terms of Offset, it's like an attorney. If they don't have an agreement as clients, they don't have an agreement. So they're not violating HIPAA. He's not actively, she shouldn't have said it, because you did talk too much, but that's not her client. So she wouldn't be violating HIPAA.
Right.
Now,
because it's
an arrangement, they signed the engagement or whatever, then that would be her client. But I don't think it's going to harm her at all, because she's playing off of words. She's saying it, but not saying it. It's kind of manipulative, but she's not saying, oh yeah, I'm a licensed therapist. And she's not saying it. People just don't pay attention. And because, again, she's nice looking and she's in the forefront, people are going to gravitate to her naturally, right? They're not paying attention to that. So some of this stuff falls on us, right? People don't have to be proven. You just have to look the part, nice looking, wear nice clothes, drive a nice car, have a nice house, and you're going to automatically assume that this person is legit. We don't do our research. We just jump on the bandwagon.
Okay, which brings us to our next thing. Let's roll some video, because I know we have a few other videos. Let's roll video, Miss Black Hollywood.
Okay, let's do it.
Who presents herself as Dr. Cheyenne Bryant. But before we dive in, I want to make something incredibly clear. Having a doctorate does not mean someone is a licensed mental health professional. You can have a doctorate in literature and be unlicensed, and you are still a doctor. You can have a doctorate in education and hold an LPC, being a licensed professional counselor, and you are a licensed mental health professional, and you are still a doctor, but your doctorate is not in psychology. When evaluating anyone's credentials, it's really critical to look at two things: what their doctorate is actually in, and whether they hold a relevant clinical license. In this case, the person you're about to hear from is unlicensed. I'm going to break down why that matters and why this particular message is harmful, especially to the Black community that she claims to be serving and that I actually serve.
A license is really only needed so you can bill insurance.
That is incredibly misleading. Yes, you do need a license to bill insurance, but that is not why licensure exists. Licensure protects you. It means I have completed specific education and supervised clinical hours, passed rigorous exams, and I'm accountable to a regulatory board. If I breach confidentiality, if I cross ethical boundaries or harm you, you have somewhere to file a complaint and be sure that I'm held accountable. A license is not paperwork just for billing. It's a consumer protection. When someone drops or loses or no longer has a license, they're not solely avoiding the insurance hassle. They're also removing your recourse if something goes terribly wrong.
Not binded by BBS, the Behavior Board Science rules and regulations and ethics. And so it just opened up a whole nother, floor in industry for me.
And she's also saying this like it's a good thing. I want to state something really important. Ethics codes exist to protect you from exploitation and boundary violation and providers practicing outside of their competence. When someone celebrates being free from ethical oversight, I want you to think of that as a red flag, a flashing one. It's a warning sign, because those rules exist because real harm happens when they're not in place. So celebrating that you don't have to be accountable to that should be concerning to you.
As a therapist, two things. You can obviously make what you deserve because therapy is real. We're giving everything we have in there. And we're
See?
unpacking shit and we're helping you process through things. So it's not us sitting there with if you're an effective therapist saying, tell me more. You should be unpacking and you should be able to take somebody and drive with them to their goal.
And here's another thing. She keeps calling herself a therapist. And in most states, that's actually illegal without a license.
She's lying.
Now, I did find out that she does have a master's from University of Phoenix, and that was another for-profit university, but I know plenty of people who went to University of Phoenix because it was one of the first ones that were online. But she has a master's degree there for marriage and family counseling, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, she has a Master of Science in Counseling, Marriage, Family, and Child Therapy. Okay, so she didn't complete the doctorate at Argosy. She did get her Master's of Science in Counseling. She didn't do the 3,000 clinical hours that are required to get the license. So, I mean, I think she's qualified to give advice based on her training. It's not like she has no education, no kind of psychological training, and she's just giving advice and calling herself a life coach. She has one degree and she partially completed another. She didn't get the clinical hours.
She's calling herself a therapist, though. She's not saying as a life coach. She's saying, as a therapist, we are really breaking things down. We are unpacking. Am I not hearing? So it's misleading. Yeah. It's not real. She's saying she's one thing, but she's
not saying licensed therapist.
Yes, but she's saying,
but she has a degree
therapist.
But she has a degree in therapy. So, she could say I'm a therapist because she has a degree in therapy.
That's a slippery slope.
But she's not saying that she's licensed. So that's the protection. License means that you're accountable to a board of ethics. She's not saying she's licensed. She's just saying she's a therapist.
Anonymous said, bro, that lady is a phony. Anonymous also said that lady giving all this marriage advice and she ain't never been married. See, that's the bigger thing. I'm agreeing with Anonymous on this. Like, I follow the Sprinkle lady. Everybody talk about Shira 7, the Sprinkle lady that she's about. She said she don't give dating advice. She give financial advice. And people, all the other dating experts come for her. But Shira's husband just died after 20 years of marriage. She might have married an old man that's 30 years older than her. And people say she was unhappily married. But that lady was stayed up in the marriage for 20 years. And I'm more likely, me personally, to take dating advice from somebody who's happily married or married for that long versus somebody who's single. So I get it. I definitely get what Anonymous is saying about taking dating advice from somebody that's not married.
I should have recruited you today, Noma. I should have. Oh, no, I wanted to get rubbish today. You want to come in here today? Let me send you the link, Noma Lenga. If you listen, I'm about to send Noma Lenga the link. You hear me? Like, I'm emailing it to you right now.
Oh, is Noma a therapist?
No, but Noma is educated and I like her. Okay. I like her position in life.
I think, I have a medical license and, you definitely, you can go to jail for practicing medicine without a license. And because I do not, I only practice in the state of Arizona, but I live in other states. I've lived in other states now. I do health coaching. I do a lot of health coaching and I do get some patients from Arizona that I may prescribe medication for because I hold a medical license in Arizona. But, under health coaching, I definitely make them sign documentation that says, hey, I'm not your primary care physician. I am licensed in the state of Arizona, but I am not licensed in this state and I'm not treating you as a as a licensed physician. And they have to sign that agreement before they even see me. And then it's a different scope when you're coaching. When I'm doing health coaching, I'm like, hey, you need to go see your doctor. I need labs that you have from your doctor, that your doctor has ordered, that your doctor's diagnosed, and can you, and I may communicate with their doctor, but it's a different scope when you are coaching somebody versus acting as a diagnosing and treating, which I'm licensed to do, but just only for Arizona. And then there are physicians who they get licensed and they get multi-state license, and that's when you do, you got these telehealth doctors. But it is a slippery slope. And as a person who worked hard, and I did 3,000 plus hours of training, and I've seen 50,000 plus patients in my career, that I do respect, licensing and that it does protect the public. There's certain things you cannot do because you could lose your license. I understand it, I respect it, and I do not think that she should have been using the title doctor when she didn't have a doctorate. That is probably the point that I'm going to hinge on, you know.
And people just ran with it. It's just like me being a nurse. Do you want me to treat you, give you injections, do all this stuff, and I have no license, no education, no knowledge on it? You wouldn't want that. You wouldn't want your doctor, to treat you and diagnose you and give you medication. And I think that's where she's playing on words. She's not who she says she is. Say you're a life coach and lead with that, right? It is what it is. You're not licensed. You're not protected. She's not protected and we're not protected. But again, we don't pay attention to that. We just kind of jump on board we jump on that bandwagon and we say, oh, she's nice looking. She looked like money. These stars are backing her. And so we just run with it. And that's what we do. We don't do our due diligence. We don't.
Well, Miss Black Hollywood, let me ask you a question, Miss Black Hollywood. Do you think that she's been embraced so much by our community because there is such a dearth of mental health advocacy in the Black community, that there's such a lack of that?
I think she's been embraced because I think she's been embraced because the internet is a place that embraces these kinds of, you know what I mean? I think she's been embraced because it's not always the most educated that is exalted, right? It's a combination of things. It's how often you go live. It's where you are being exalted, right? She reached out, she talks, she gets online. She did an interview talking about how she connected with 50 Cent and connected with certain celebrities. And it just happened that she hopped in the DM and 50 was like, yeah, I like what you say. I like the things that you say. I like how it's like going to a church, right? There's a way that Black people like to be talked to, in a way that we can be, we like a charismatic figure. Right. That looks nice and it's beautiful and they can talk a certain way. You'd be like, come on, amen, hallelujah, right? Like, we like that. Like, we can be preached to in a way that feels good, and it doesn't necessarily have to be legit. I love that we had this conversation. Let me just say this, and I'm going to toss it back to you, Dr. Charm. And before we roll our next video, Dominique, I love this because at the beginning of the conversation, you were like, you know what? I don't see the problem. And, I think Dr. Charm was like too. And then we start conversing about it. And then you were able to form an opinion around it. Like, you know what? That's not cool. Actually, I don't like it. And, so I just think it's a lot of branding. It's a lot of storytelling. People love a good story. People love a good sermon. And I think if you give enough of them and you're consistent enough, people will join your church. And that's just it. It's just branding and good look and church, really.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with her. I think she gives great advice. I think she's targeting a sector of our community that really, really needs therapy, and that's Black men. I just have a problem with her saying that she has a doctorate when she doesn't. Which brings me to another point that kind of came up online was Dr. Phil. People say, well, Dr. Phil, many licensed practitioners have a problem with Dr. Phil and some of the things he does because he doesn't have a license. But Dr. Phil has a doctorate in psychology. He holds a doctorate. I don't know from which university. And he was a licensed psychologist in Texas up until 2006, and he let his license lapse, that just means you don't do the continuing education units and you don't pay the fee, and he let it lapse. But this man, he got on with Oprah because he was licensed, and she put him on, and he helped her through that trial where the beef association sued her for making that comment about not wanting to eat beef because of the mad cow. But the thing is that probably the same reason where Dr. Umar says he doesn't want to have the license, that's probably why Dr. Phil let his license lapse. He's not seeing patients individually anymore. He's a TV personality. I'm sure he's been financially set since 2006 at the least. And it restricts what he can do on television. But I think some of the therapists have called him to task for some of his methods on TV when he has these guests on TV. But again, they can't complain to a licensing body because he doesn't hold one and he let it lapse. So I understand why certain people don't want to function in that arena, especially when you're a media personality and anything you say, people online can start a backlash. I've seen people do videos on TikTok and then next thing you know, somebody's calling CPS about their kids and they may not have abused their kids, and then CPS drops an investigation, but because you're public facing or you had a video that went viral, people complain. You said there's another video?
There is. And can I just add something to this real quick?
Okay.
I think that Black people have so much trauma, right? We have come from a long line, generations of trauma. And so we need our professionals and the people that we listen to be licensed. We need them to really be equipped to give us advice that we can take. And I know sometimes wisdom is good enough, right? I know that sometimes, but if you're going to be in a space where you really are helping people unpack, please have your shit together to be able to help them unpack, and you're not just in there giving your opinion and what feels good. That's all I'll say about that. And I mean that for the internet. I mean that for the red pill, for the blue pill, for the all pill, for the internet. Like, I just mean that. I feel like let us be equipped enough to be giving advice to people that really need it. That's all I'll say, especially Black men, because we need our Black men, but we need our Black men whole in a real way, and not like just because it's cute and it feels good. That's all I'll say about that. And I'll bring up the next video. I'm not gonna go to oh no, I don't want that one. I want this one. Okay, let's do this one.
Dr.
like
Bryant and the bullshit that she was talking about not being licensed until I seen this post where she was saying, I don't need a license because I'm the most sought out psychology expert, life coach there is. And it really made me think about the way that people have used the business model of maximizing profit with the least amount of work in every single space, from the nonprofit industrial complex to just mental health work in general. And she's a prime example of people making decisions because they want to maximize their profits with the least amount of work and effort put into it, because you don't want to be licensed because you don't want to have to actually do the necessary work to be good at providing necessary mental health services. You don't want to do the continuing education credits. You don't want to have to deal with licensing boards. You don't want to be held accountable if you fuck up. Because if the conversation was about providing accessible services and things of that nature, your prices just wouldn't be that high. But also, I really do blame capitalism for a lot of this, because you are only saying this because you don't want to have to go through the process that a lot of people have to go through when it comes to making money in this field. And if I can just sell you some ChatGPT ass life coaching expert advice and under the guise of mental health, I can get these multi-million-dollar and thousands of dollars sponsorships for mental health workshops and things of that nature from corporate America, and these schools flying you out, and these podcasts paying your booking engagement fees, because then you're not providing anything that they can't go get off YouTube. And these corporations know that, and they're like, well, we'd rather pay for that than pay for somebody to come in who will actually make these people care about their mental health and wellness, because that might actually make them realize we're actually overworking them just a little bit. And then you're also playing and preying on people's vulnerabilities of the fact that they don't trust licensed clinicians. And you're also creating a dangerous narrative about what it means to be licensed. And that in itself is harmful for people's mental health.
Wow, that's interesting. I just read a little bit more about Dr. Phil. Dr. Phil let his license, he retired his license. So it wasn't like he just let it lapse. He went ahead and went into retirement. What you can do, you can, as a medical professional, you can retire your license. But I think with all this controversy going on with Dr. Cheyenne Bryant, I think the biggest thing is that's going to come out of this that's good is that it could possibly encourage a lot of people to go to therapy. They'll never have the resources or the access to probably see her because she's treating celebrities now, and she's probably, her fees are probably exorbitant. But just hearing or seeing an interview,
see how much it costs.
Yeah, with the Nick Cannon or a Cam Newton, may say like, okay, I like what she said to them, and it's making me think about my own life. Let me go and look up how I can go get therapy in my local community, or how I can go, look at my insurance to see who's available for me to be treated. And then I think also it would encourage people to see a Black therapist, because she does have that mother wit that only a Black therapist can have. Dominique, what do you think? Do you think it's going to help more Black people go to therapy by just, her being just in the space?
I don't think she's necessarily going to help people go to therapy. I think people want to be better, right? And if you want to be better, you're going to seek what is going to help you to be better. So I don't think she's necessarily going to do it, but let's talk about it, right? So Cam Newton, she had a conversation with him, right? She had a dialogue. She called him out. But what changed about him?
Right.
Did he marry any of his baby mamas? No. Nick Cannon, she had a candid comment, multiple conversations with him. What changed about him? So is what she doing really productive?
But what if there's a Nick Cannon he's on baby mama number 3 and he was thinking about talking and impregnating another 4 or 5 and he didn't think anything that was wrong with it. And then, he's not listening to family, but then he's like, oh, damn, shawty bad. She's talking to Cam Newton. I respect Cam Newton. I respect Nick Cannon. And maybe that made him think, like, stop and think for a minute. Hey, maybe I need to slow down on the baby mamas. I don't know.
He's thinking, I'm gonna pay this $350 to slap for the pasta because she only cost $3. I'm surprised at these rates. I'm not gonna lie. It's like $350 for 50 minutes. Like
that's actually not bad because most therapists I know they charge $250.
Yeah, I cost more than that. Yeah. For you know what I mean? Like that's not too bad. That's not too bad.
But I think that in order for people to change, yes, you can present things to them, but there was already something there, right? That was nagging them. And so maybe that can propel them to want to really be active in change, right? But they got to want to do it themselves. They have to be interested in changing, right? They have to be interested in seeking out counseling, a real licensed therapist.
Okay. Do we have any other video?
We do. We have one more. Let's do one more.
Okay.
Let's go to
this. Has been a good conversation. Like definitely more excited than I thought it was going to be. It's been real good.
Yeah, let's go here. We'll go to a female licensed therapist because, people. Let's see.
Cheyenne Bryant is a case study on why professionals should be, professional. When you meet a licensed clinician, whether they are associate licensed or they are fully licensed or independently licensed, you are meeting someone who has gone through rigorous amounts of schooling, supervision hours, and testing in order to be where they are. In my field of study, if you want to gain your associate's license, you have to have a master's degree, and then you have to take the national exam. Then in order to be independently licensed, meaning you can own your own practice without supervision, you are required to do at least 3 years of work experience. So you have to have somewhere between 2,000 to 3,000 hours, depending on the state. You have to undergo 250 to some states 300 or 350 hours of supervision, meaning that you are meeting and practicing under another licensed clinician. Then you take the national exam. Just the application process alone requires references. It requires proof that you did these hours. The board has to approve it, do a background check, make sure you're in good standing, and then you get your license. This is not because it is the best way to find the best therapist, right? But it is one way. It is one way to ensure that the quality of the therapist sitting in front of you has been tested, has been tried in some form or fashion. Having a license is the most ethical and the only safeguard that we have to serve you, the client.
All right, that's some strong thoughts on that. Let's see. Do you think, Miss Black Hollywood, should there be consequences for misleading titles?
Yes. Yeah. I think that I just think that, I don't know what the consequences would be. I think that at some point maybe there's a cancellation. I don't know. I think that she should be canceled because she gets online and says, like, I'm a therapist, but I'm not a licensed therapist, but I am a therapist because I went through some hours, but not all the hours. I mean, I went to a school, but it wasn't credited, but like it shut down. And then, I just feel like, I don't know. There just should definitely be you should definitely have to lead with the truth. And I think then people decide what they want to do. I just think there's a lot of people. It's so dangerous if we don't have those safeguards. It's so dangerous. As somebody that goes to therapy every Tuesday, for maintenance, some days I need it, some days I don't. But it's just good to have somebody licensed that if I am having, like Dominique said earlier, a personal crisis, somebody is there that can actually help me through that. And instead of it being like, girl, just giving me her opinion. I just think that I see the harm and danger in that. So just think about yourself. I'm gonna just say that to the queens on the panel and the people in the chat. Just think about yourself being in a situation where you need somebody that is equipped to help you. That you need help. I'm sorry. You're in a situation where you're having a real life crisis. You don't want somebody that's just like been given their opinion and just guessing through your care. You don't want that. So I think that there should be some safeguards there, and I think that there should be consequences for people that, or just leading with honesty, because
Um,
yeah, lead with
okay.
honesty. Yeah.
I can understand that. Let's see what the chat is saying. Jasmine01K says this topic is such needed for our children to learn how to practice discernment. Thank you, ladies. You're welcome. Ty234, she's a black queen. Truth is not required. Yes, queen. Okay. Yes, queen. In June 2000 says misleading title is dangerous. Okay, I can understand that opinion. Latoya Young 919 says, does anyone know if Dr. Bryant is published on Google Scholar? Well, I know she didn't defend her dissertation, so she doesn't have a published dissertation.
Do you know a Google Scholar? Like, she a Google Scholar. She read some. Has she even written any articles? I mean, right? Like, is there anything that we can look at outside of videos that can give us like really deep thoughts from Cheyenne Bryant? Do you know, Dr. Charm? Is there anything that...
I don't know anything about it. I just know that she didn't get her doctorate. She's not published as far as having a dissertation. I don't think that there's any academic papers. So she has chosen to be more of the public facing, the branding, and I think there's a place for that. I really do. I really think there's a place for that. Again, I don't have a problem with her. I just have a problem with using the confusion of the credentials. But here's the thing, though, too. I think when you get backlash, people always seem to try to come for folks' credentials first. Like, I really didn't appreciate all the stuff they were talking about with Dr. Umar. And people still to this day, you can look up and call. He went to Hahnemann School in Philadelphia. This man went and got his doctorate, and you still have people to this day saying this man don't have a doctorate. So it's just like, that's just the easiest thing. That's the easiest target. And it bothers me sometimes when people are so quick to do that, especially when folks are not mainstream on their opinions. And I can see why they didn't want to have a license.
Yeah. Dr. Umar it is a tough one, right? I feel like he's maybe the male version of Dr. Bryant. Like, he is the original Dr. Bryant, right? In a sense where you just kind of want to get online and do whatever you want. The message is, you can tell he's brilliant, absolutely brilliant, absolutely brilliant. There's nothing I can say against Dr. Umar, but would I want to sit in a session with Dr. Umar? Probably not. I probably would. I wouldn't go to him for counseling at all, based on what I've seen from the school, his handlings, to just like, I wouldn't go to Dr. Umar. I wouldn't trust him with that. There. What about you, Dr. Dominique? Before we get into these final thoughts, because it is time for us to wind down. Would you go to Dr. Umar?
I thought I was, she just took over. I thought I was hosting today.
You are hosting, but we got to get out of here soon.
I know. I actually was going to say that. I actually was going to read the stats and then hear from Dr. Dominique. But let's hear from Dominique, and then we'll do the stats.
Look,
no. Co-host now. That's one thing I'm gonna do is co-host. Like, it's time to get out of here. Okay, go ahead, Don. Go ahead, Dominique.
So I think that in terms of, like, you got to lead with what you are, right? Just if you're a life coach, run with the fact that you're a life coach. It's okay, right? But this play on words, this deceit. I think that that's where the problem is. And I think that there should be some sort of accountability, because, again, it can be dangerous, right? What type of protection do we have going that route, right? If something happens, like, you can't really do anything with her because she's not licensed. Who are you going to go to hold her accountable?
Right, to hold her accountable.
And so we have to be, and I said it earlier, like, I think as African Americans, we jump on the bandwagon based on how a person looks, how the person dresses, what type of car. That stuff doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. You want somebody that's really going to help you when you're in crisis, right? As a nurse, if you're dying and certain things have to happen, I know the protocol of what needs to happen, right? A random person doesn't know that type of thing. So who do you want to go to? Do you want to go to somebody that is trained, or do you want a random person that's figuring it out along the way, right? You don't want that. And I think that we have to really start paying attention to what we fall into. And I think that just because a person has a platform doesn't mean that they are the most qualified, right? The fact of the matter is she's not licensed. Say that you're not licensed. And to me, that is a red flag. I've not really followed her much, So after we've dug deep, it's like, oh, wait a minute. Because again, as a nurse, I would be offended if somebody is saying that they're a registered nurse, considering all the time and work that I put into doing it. So
yeah, I can see how people feel that way, especially if you've worked hard for what you have. All right, let's do some stats real quick, and then we'll get into final thoughts. So the influencer industry is worth over $20 billion, with many creators monetizing advice-based content. Over 60% of people trust influencers in certain areas as much as or more than traditional experts. Therapy can cost $100 to $250 per session, pushing many people towards free online advice. Ooh, Lord, I can see that. The U.S. has a shortage of licensed mental health professionals, increasing demand for online voices. And then nearly 1 in 5 adults experience mental health challenges, creating a large audience seeking guidance. So, I mean, that's the biggest thing, is that people need it. It's definitely needed. So let's get into our final thoughts. We'll start with you, Miss Black Hollywood. And then, we'll start with you, Miss Black Hollywood, and then we'll go on.
Sure. I'll keep it brief because I want to keep it brief. I think it's important, y'all. I know Dr. Charm just said within the stats that most people are going to therapy or going online because they don't think they have access to therapy. But I know that there are programs, there are nonprofits that exist, there are resources. I'm sorry I didn't pull them, but I promise I will. If you are looking for that, email me, and I'm pretty sure I can find something for free. I know after COVID, I know Kaiser, for me, they offered mental health services for like, I don't know, the copay was like $5, and I took advantage of all of that. So there are things like laying around, like hiding in plain sight, that can help you if that is what you need. It's just a matter of looking, hitting that Google, like Constance says, Google that and I'm pretty sure you can find something. Just stay away from the online, not real, the fake, the grifters, the grifters. We want to stay away from the grifters. And I'm no disrespect to Dr. Cheyenne. I respect her brand. I love what she's been able to build. I love when Black women can build dope things. I would just say, sis, just say you're a life coach and leave it at that. Leave it at that. If you are looking for me, I have been in Hollywood for 20 years. It'll be 21 years very soon. So I'm not a fake. I'm not a fake professional. If you are looking to tell your story and possibly do what Dr. Cheyenne has did, at least get the science of doing that, go to Miss Black Hollywood or follow me at Miss Black Hollywood across all platforms. I love you.
Thank you, Miss Black Hollywood. It's always great to hear your perspective. It's quite sound and brilliant. Miss Dominique Morgan.
So
give us your final thoughts, and where can we find you?
Back off of Miss Black Hollywood. There are resources out there. I am an advocate for mental health because I feel like mental health is the thing that helps in every aspect of your life. If your mental health is not intact, how are you going to, make sure you're meal prepping and working out if you're depressed and you're anxious? So I really think that mental health is important. And there are resources out there available. You can start before Miss Black Hollywood gets you the list. You can call the back of your health card, your healthcare card, and they have a mental health hotline. Oftentimes your job has some type of EPA, I think that's, or EAP, where you can call and you can get so many free sessions. They'll give you a list of counselors. And I'm saying this because this is something that I've utilized. Address your mental health. There are resources out there available to you. And don't let people scare you into thinking that it's so expensive, you can't afford it. There are 100% resources out there available to you. So take advantage of those resources. So if you're looking for me, I can help you purchase throughout the United States and in Canada. You can follow me on all social media platforms at the Whitmore Group, or you can go to our website to find out what's happening with the Whitmore Group at thewhitmoregroup.com.
So thank you so much, Miss Dominique
You're
Morgan. Okay. You guys, my position on this, I believe that there is a space for lay practitioners or people who don't have a license. I think Dr. Bryant has a space in society. She has a big following. I think it is making mental health more accessible in the sense of it's making people more comfortable with exploring their mental health. And I do appreciate the fact that she works with Black men, because I think in our community, they really need it. And a lot of them are so loath to seek it, period. And so from that perspective, I do appreciate having a Dr. Cheyenne Bryant, though there is some confusion and that needs to be eliminated. As far as me, I am a licensed naturopathic physician in the state of Arizona. And I am a health coach for nutrition and holistic and functional health. So if you want to reach out to me regarding that. But I also want to announce that I dropped my web series. It is on my Instagram and TikTok. So you can follow me on Instagram at CharmGirl77. And we will have weekly episodes for this season, but it's called Becoming Bougie. And it's inspired. It's not 100% autobiographical, but it is inspired by my dating life. And so episodes part 1 and 2 dropped last Friday. Go watch it on my Instagram, CharmGirl77, and go watch it Friday when it drops. So just real quick, Black History Woman Fact, Dr. Mamie Phipps Clark, a pioneering Black psychologist whose research helped influence the Brown versus Board of Education decision, which was critical. Her work shows the power of trained credential expertise and how it can shape real people's outcomes in their lives. So I want to just thank everybody. I want to thank the chat. I want to thank Miss Dominique. I want to thank Miss Black Hollywood. I want to thank myself. I want to thank you all. You guys are beautiful. Y'all are wonderful. And to bring this full circle, we are all looking for answers. The question is whether they are getting guidance from someone who is trained to help them or someone who knows how to sound convincing. A platform can build influence, but it does not automatically build expertise. And when it comes to mental health and relationships, the wrong advice does not just waste time. It can create real setbacks that take years to undo. So we have to be more intentional about who we listen to, who we follow, and how we apply this to our lives. We love you guys. Thank you. Thank you, Deborah Win. Thank you, Anonymous. Thank you, June 2000. Thank you, Real Black Lexicon. Thank you to all the chat. If I didn't say your names, it's not because I don't love y'all and y'all's opinion. We love y'all and we appreciate y'all tuning in. Double A82. Thank you, everybody.